And action.
The Star Wars reported. Sorry?
The Star Wars Reporter podcast.
Got it. Or you are watching.
Yeah. Action. The Star Wars Reporter podcast.
Right. The Star Wars Reporter podcast you are watching. Where's my $50?
Welcome to episode 111 of the Star Wars Reporter podcast. I'm Wookie Steve, and I am here with Darth Slobo. I don't know
back
whether to call you
again.
Professor Darth Slobo or just Darth Slobo.
Professor Darth, Dr. Darth. I don't know. Professor Darth's got a ring to it. I like it.
Doctor, I like that. We're gonna have to take a vote on that. See where that
Grand
goes.
Admiral. I might have to give myself a promotion here.
Grand Admiral. Yes, only if you paint yourself blue.
Every day, blue.
That would be good.
And the red contact lenses.
Your students would like that. Now, we are light here tonight. Todd and Jen couldn't make it tonight because they have a life. But here's an artist depiction of did I do that right?
Hey, they're here. That's uncanny.
There they are. I know. I think I did a pretty good job, especially with Todd. So I think I got his eyes perfectly. But they will be here next time. I'm especially Jen. I'm sure she is probably really not happy for not being here and be able to go on and on about it. We had a good time talking about episode 6, was it, with Anakin? That was awesome.
Yes.
So, but tonight we are talking
just
about
saying episode of the
7.
century. Yeah,
it is. And also just before we went live, we were talking about how happy we were for Hayden himself, which seemed to be kind of like a well-deserved, overdue welcoming. I think even more so than the Obi-Wan series. I think he was 100 times better in this. And it has to do with the script and maybe some attention to details put into this for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, to see him back in the role of Anakin, too. It's easy to see, like, of course, seeing Darth Vader is always exciting. And knowing he's under the suit was great. But, I mean, seeing him back as Anakin Skywalker, like we said, the role he got so much hate for at the time. And now to see him just perfectly nail it is, I mean, it's an ultimate feel-good story.
Yeah, like I'm super, super happy. I'm like living through him, fellow Canadian. And so, because we're all the same. So,
of course,
before we get started, I just want to make sure that everyone knows to like and subscribe, help us build the channel and the community. Also, make sure you follow us on social media. That's right. Isn't that what the kids say?
Smash that like button.
That's right. And also, be sure to check out the news site, StarWarsReporter.com. Get all the latest news. And if you do that, it makes us happy. So, now, tonight's topic is episode 7. And I just want to, like we did the last podcast, I want to reiterate the thoughts of Dave Filoni about how Star Wars...
This good feeling, which fundamentally Star Wars should deliver a good feeling, an uplifting feeling in you and your family, your kids, whatever.
And
100%.
Filoni is delivering on a good feeling.
Every Tuesday night feels really good.
Tano Tuesday.
Tano Tuesdays, that's it.
Yeah. So it's kind of the fundamentals, right? Not trying to make anything artsy or different. It just feels like Star Wars. So, I mean, the series has been filled with cameos and Easter eggs and
lore.
it feels like that meme with DiCaprio, where he's on the couch and he's pointing.
Oh
at thing.
yeah, that's the one.
Like you can make hundreds of memes of everything that's been going on in this series so far. But
for every type of fan too. I mean, talking about Clone Wars fans with the whole episode on Anakin and Clone Wars armor and flashbacks of the Clone Wars, and then you got your Rebels fans with Thrawn and everything. And yeah, it's been a heck of a ride. It's been and I mean, of course, Timothy Zahn fans too, with Thrawn and callbacks to Heir to the Empire and everything, and just it's been a great ride for every type of fan.
And like on the last podcast when it was Jen and I, and we were talking about episode 6, I said to her, actually, I sent her a message before the podcast, and I said, I have to admit, I kind of have a man crush on Anakin.
Who doesn't? I think it's just a crush. Like
he was 100 times more intimidating when he was confronting her than he was in episode 3. And I think experience comes with age. He was a young, intimidating Darth Vader in episode 3. Now he's older, maybe a little bigger, and he just seemed different and wiser in his acting, maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe different direction.
I mean, this is the first time we've really seen him switch from light to dark and then dark back to light. And he did it so perfectly. You could tell exactly when he tapped into the dark and then he came back to the light.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I mean, of course,
very cool.
when he steps in with that "you lack conviction" line, where they sort of got Vader's voice over that too, is just like, oh, blown away. Unreal.
I was always, I'm a Luke Skywalker guy, and I'm fine with the prequels and Anakin, but whenever there was a debate, like who's the greatest, like who was the chosen one, who was the greater lightsaber fencer, and I'd always Luke, but man, Anakin, that was his thing. He was too powerful for his own good, but it'd be an awesome fight.
Oh,
Father and son.
It'd be a really good what if scenario. Of course, we've kind of seen that, but not at Anakin's full potential, right?
His peak for sure.
And he's held back in his Vader suit, right? Like,
he wasn't trying to kill his son, right? And then at one point, Luke turned a little bit, and it was almost game over for Vader at the end.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I also heard a theory, and I'd love to get your take on this, is now that Anakin is in this form, right? The Force Ghost or whatever you'd like to call it, and he can easily tap into both the light and the dark side in this form, as we saw. He's fully realized his capabilities as the chosen one, being able to tiptoe both lines, but also being able to save the ones he loves from death, right? Which is what you can make an argument for what he did with Ahsoka. If he was the one that pulled her into the world between worlds, but he taught her the final lesson she needed to know to live, therefore achieving what he sought to achieve when he fell to the dark side. I thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah, that's a good way. Yeah, that's a good way to break it down. He's like the tool to helping.
Totally. And I've always been curious after that episode. So the writing all of the show is, phenomenal, and we see Ahsoka's development throughout the series.
Right.
I would love to hear your thoughts on Ahsoka's journey in this so far, mirroring Gandalf's.
I know they went from that Ahsoka the Grey to Ahsoka the White. I haven't seen. I don't think it's the same transformation. Like Gandalf went from, he was Gandalf the Grey. When he became Gandalf the White, they kind of replaced Saruman, they needed, and he became very, very powerful and very different, right? He was like a different, even more so a different being. And I don't know if the different the difference that I see is that she's not so somber. She's a little more happy, a little more comfortable with herself. She seems to be at that chapter that's been haunting her since she found out that Anakin was Vader, Order 66, everything the Jedi Temple did to her. I think she's at peace now. And I think that's the difference. Because, I mean, she really hasn't. I mean, in this episode, it was round 2 with Balin. And what happened? I mean,
It was
she
a
really
draw.
didn't win. But she had taken off. And it's interesting that here's Todd.
Hey, look at that.
It's Gandalf. Yes, we're getting deep. We're getting deep, Todd. I don't know if you saw the picture, Todd, if you're still watching the picture of Jen and you, just because you guys weren't here. But I just don't think that
Tony was clearly leaning on Lord of the Rings imagery in that episode. 100%. Every, like, her entire transformation from Ahsoka the Grey to Ahsoka the White very much mirrored Gandalf in, the Mines of Moria falling from the bridge. And then even like the star imagery in that transformation was very much similar to what looks exactly like me. He's here with us.
Do you remember that Filoni sketch he did? It was a few years ago, I think. And it was Ahsoka and Gandalf. Well, it was a wizard standing with her. I forget what he was saying. Because someone had brought that up and shared that picture. And it's kind of like his, the influence from Tolkien, Gandalf becoming Gandalf the White. This was probably in his head for a long time, right? With this
it's
whole
super
story.
Cool to see those themes come in, right? Like, it's super cool to see that inspiration. I mean, you and I for sure Tolkien fans, right? You being a crazy Tolkien fan.
Look right up here, all the swords. Like, I have a whole bunch here.
That's got to be cool to see, like, a little bit of overlap between two of your favorite franchises.
Well, that was my DiCaprio moment. In the meeting, right? So
I would have, if Todd was,
yeah.
And Todd, I'm hoping you're going to come on because I was going to go crazy about how flippin' cool, what's his name, Captain Enoch looks from Thrawn's Troopers.
Right.
How cool does that Gladiator Stormtrooper helmet look?
Well, let's get into this episode a little bit.
Let's get into the episode.
So episode 7, it was called Dreams and Madness. So really weird. Now we start off
from Balin's line, right? That was right from Balin's line.
Yes.
The land of dreams and madness.
We start off with Hera at that hearing, right? She's kind of in trouble for not following orders. It's kind of interesting. And then you have all these senators. And then the far right senator, he's that guy that's not been very cooperative. He is totally
Ziono.
He's totally, come on. He's kind of like one of those Empire sympathizers that's probably going to show up in the next iteration of movies. And is that Akbar?
It's a trap. That is Akbar. 100% that's Akbar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very, very cool.
He should have called that. It's a trap. Hera, get out.
I know. Yeah, it was the uniforms were interesting. It's very
all cool leather jackets. I mean, Captain Teva rolled in like
the
coolest guy on the planet with that jacket, hey?
I was so happy. This is like you said it to me offline. He's going to be like the Agent Coulson.
Agent Coulson.
Star
Wars. He just shows up to tie up those loose threads and make a Star Wars super team. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be great. He's going to be the Nick Fury. So it's not looking so good for Hera in this. She's not following orders, and Mon Mothma is not really helping her out too much.
No, not the commanding Mon Mothma that we've come to know
But
and
then
love.
luckily someone comes to
Oh,
her aid. I was
what
not
a
expecting
fantastic
that.
cameo. Me neither. What an absolutely fantastic cameo. That was, again, one of those moments where I actually think I got up out of my seat. I was like, yes, you know what? We got a little bit of R2 in The Mandalorian when Luke came back. It was awesome to see
Right.
C-3PO and to see Anthony Daniels on the credits too. I don't know if he was the one in the suit, but it was definitely his voice.
It was his voice, but he wasn't in the suit. I think I saw a picture of the actor. Yeah, that's right. Todd was excited too. It was very cool to see because well, C-3PO went with Leia and R2 went with Luke, right?
Yeah.
And so it made sense. I was when he came in saying, "Oh, I have a message from what do you call her, Senator Leia, or what do you call her,
Senator Organa."
Organa?" And I was like, "No way! They're not going to do like, like a look-alike or some kind of CGI." I thought there's no way. Like she's going to pop up and say some message.
Yeah.
I thought they're not going to do that, and I was kind of relieved they didn't.
Me too.
Yeah,
I was worried when he handed that drive to. I was like, oh no, but no. I think they handled it absolutely perfectly. It wasn't an out of place cameo either. Like it was really cool to see them work it in,
yeah,
but it was very relevant to the storyline. Like she's busy, Senator. She sends a proxy. Who's she gonna send? Our favorite
yeah,
protocol droid, right?
yeah. And do honestly, what I was hoping? I was hoping that Hera was going to be court-martialed and lose her commission, because I think I said this on a podcast last time or before that. Hera's too independent to be kind of held under a thumb of this bureaucracy, right? It's different if she was like a sergeant or just a soldier, right? It's like things a little more loose and not as strict, but she has to be held to such a, like, she has to stay within kind of the rules, whether she likes it or not. She got lucky with, Leia pretending she okayed all this or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought they'd be like, we got to take this from you, and then we just get back to it. She'd be like, fine, I'm going to do my own thing the way I've always wanted to do it, or the way I've always done it, because that's how she was during the rebellion, right? During Rebels, she did her own thing. She kind of had contacts. Well, she had Ahsoka as a contact, as it turned out, and it would be even cooler if then Teva said, "I'm out of here too," and then joined the crew.
That would be interesting.
He's not the X-Wing commander anymore, which would make me sad, but he's part of the crew. I mean, there's no Zeb. Just want to just have him part of the crew, right? Accomplished pilot, connections everywhere, because he would have these connections. He was Outer Rim. He was on Coruscant. He's all these connections because he seemed to be.
He's got the Mandalorians.
Yeah, he has the Mandalorians. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that would be interesting.
Happen.
It's you bring up an interesting point. Like for Hera's development, it's interesting to see how her desire for that structure and the formality of a New Republic kind of come back to bite her. Because through Rebels, they're operating as their own, rebel cell on Lothal, wanting to be part of a larger movement for so long. Right. And finally getting to be part of that larger rebellion against the Empire. And then all of a sudden, that rebellion and that structure that she was desiring now is turned into a more formal bureaucracy where she is held accountable for her actions as, essentially rebelling what she has grown up knowing. So it's interesting to see her see that come back to bite her.
Right. And the generals in the New Republic seemed more buried by bureaucracy than actually action, like generals were used in the rebellion. Of course, it's very different, right? So peacetime, generals are like bureaucracy, boring. You can't leave. You need to do this. You need to do that, which is fine. That's part of the job. That's not, anyone's, they're not being harsher on her because of anything. And I don't think that's really her. I think she just doesn't. I don't think she should be held back. So I was a little disappointed. I thought, oh, there is. I knew she wasn't going to lose it. I knew something was going to happen, but I'd
We're
hope
gonna
that
need
there'd be
her
a
when
twist.
Thrawn comes back, though, for that big Filoni
Right.
movie. We're gonna need her at the helm.
Yeah, that's very, very true. It's just that I thought she would be more. She'd be more useful as her, normal rebel self than, being held as a general, right? And
Yeah.
yeah. So it was more her. So, in my opinion, but the next scene, we'll get into it. We see Ahsoka training, doing some kind of
unbelievable
kata
again.
with the lightsaber, with a recording, which turns out to be the last recording she ever received from Anakin.
That was another great cameo to see. Like, I was convinced we were going to see Anakin again in the series.
Mm-hmm.
He had his big reveal and big episode, but it was really good to see him back. And to see her engage with those training materials too, because clearly, like, we saw a brief clip early on in Rebels of her watching one of the recordings, but again, she was very conflicted about it. So it's good to see her embrace that lesson that she received from him, and continue, or maybe even finalize her training.
And that was an eye opener, if you notice, from Hu Yang, because he had never seen Anakin like that. And the last, he knew he became Vader. So, he had his opinions. The droid had his opinions on Anakin, but I think this was kind of different for him. And he got to hear a little bit more from Ahsoka on him. And I think maybe his opinion has changed a little bit. I mean, he did kill a lot of kids, but still, let's remember. Everyone's like, oh, my opinion's changed of him. I'm like, bro, he killed a whole bunch of kids.
So many kids.
Still, to save his girlfriend or his wife. But anyways,
I know
Anakin's
everyone's
still
freaking out over his mention of Asajj Ventress, because again, that was a Clone Wars character that has not been, legitimized by live action. So to see him even name drop her, everyone was freaking out. Then that was a really cool character, too, right? Like a Night Sister.
She's a Night Sister,
turned acolyte from Dooku.
Yeah,
you never know what could happen.
We can totally see her if they can. I've just never heard any actress named, right? Maybe it's a season 2 thing.
Yeah, if there is a season 2, I'm kind of getting convinced that this is all the prequel to Filoni's movie.
If that happens, because Disney's having some problems, right? Iger just is canceling movies now. So all these plans, all these
happen.
With
the success of Ahsoka, it's going to be guaranteed money in the bank. I think.
I don't think Ahsoka's being watched enough. I don't think Ahsoka's being watched enough. I think its first 2 episodes had lower ratings than Andor.
Really?
So, very low. Yeah, it came in 3rd under Mandalorian and those couple of episodes of Obi-Wan. I think
it'll be interesting to see what the final numbers are.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, like, because if they do a season 2, it won't be for another couple of years. So that's 2 years out, just like what happened to Mando season 3. And then to connect a movie, so I think they're running into some. I think they're running into some troubles. I kind of watch a lot of the when they're talking about kind of the stocks and blah blah blah. I mean, right now they're trying to save a lot of money, so maybe they find it somehow. I don't know. Like Andor costs like $250-300 million to make. I have no idea how, but that's a lot of money.
For sure.
That's a lot of money.
They're going to get smarter and realize they can't just spend that much money on. They can't just spend that much money on a series, like on a streaming platform, right? I think we're seeing
where's the money going?
And
It's like
I mean, we're seeing huge
laundering. It's
trends
like a
on
stamp of
reining
laundry.
in expectations for streaming platforms. So I think they're going to go back to what
Yeah.
they know, which is bums and seats, bowls of popcorn, and ticket sales, and that's going to
Yeah.
be how Disney gets back in the revenue column.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we will see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's my thought on the Ahsoka training scene. I thought it was cool seeing kind of to me this was another closure for her, seeing this and hearing that last message again, right? Another closure for her. But on a side note, not in the script, I wish they did more training with the actors in fencing, because it was, sorry, I'm an old guy that doesn't know what he's talking about, I guess, but this seemed horrible to watch. It didn't seem good to me. It seemed a lot of the choreography in this series has made me cringe. A lot of it, like the actor that plays Shin, she is top dog. She is so good. She's
She's
so
good.
good.
And then Balin.
Balin's really good because his style, he's big. Anakin doesn't look like Hayden Christensen stopped practicing since the last day he filmed. It's like he gets up on his farm and does some lightsaber work and then goes out and milks a cow because he's got like a ranch or something, right? I think it's like they're really good, but I don't think, like, if the actors aren't really great, like they're trying to make them flashy like the prequels. And if they're not able to do that, then edit it differently. Like Born Identity, what's his name? Matt Damon wasn't great at the hand stuff, so they just moved the camera really close to them, and it was a lot of this in the camera in a lot of the scenes, like in the first one. And I think he improved going forward on the movies, because a lot of the fight scenes were like really close up. Not all of them, but a lot of them were really close up. And I guess if Todd was here, he would probably tell, the thoughts on why a director would do that. And maybe it was to make it look more intense or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think
I disagree.
Rosario is not good with the sword play. And I think it has something to do with the editing. It has something to do with the editing.
I'm going to counterpoint with this. I think, first of all, I think Rosario Dawson is crushing it. She is absolutely shagadelic baby out there.
Oh, she's a great Ahsoka.
For this scene, I will say, awkwardness to me seemed very much like you were saying, it's in karate, your katas, right? They're very technical. They're very awkward looking because you're performing these moves in sequence by yourself, which I think she was doing very much so. So it looks awkward when you're doing these moves.
I recognize katas with that. I was in martial arts for 20 plus years, right? I also did German longsword. I did some kendo. I did Italian rapier. I did,
but
all that
like
stuff.
Even in the moment, it's like you're doing it. It feels awkward too. You're intense by yourself, working on perfecting your technique.
Right.
To the audience, I'm sure it looks awkward.
Right. I just felt that, I didn't, that's just my little nitpick. I could be severely wrong, but it just seemed like doing a slow kata with the lightsabers seemed kind of out of place to me. And maybe it's not her fault on that, but she could have been doing something different with the lightsabers, because I mean, like doing German longsword, I'm pointing to it. I mean, it wouldn't be a kata, it'd just be a warm-up. You're doing all the different forms and cuts and stuff. We would do it together or all this other kind of stuff. And it just seemed odd to me a little bit, right? It didn't seem solid to me, and it's not a game changer or a killer. It was just like, you know,
I
like,
respect that. And again, I
it was just
mean,
weird.
the scene for me was mostly about Anakin Skywalker being
Oh.
back, even in a recording, right? As awkward as Rosario looked practicing, I was more focused on our boy Hayden name dropping Asajj Ventress and Count Dooku and General Grievous again. The good old days.
Yes. Yeah. So that was just my little thing. So
also interesting to see, like, of course she's had it's interesting to note, rather, of course she's had a very troubled past and mixed feelings about her former master, you know, realizing that, you know, he became Darth Vader, and the atrocities that Darth Vader committed, but she still saved those recordings. She still saved them, and finally we see her at peace and going back to that and realizing that, you know, he was a good master.
Yeah, definitely. And again, too, it's kind of that, like, a lot of closure. So I think, and I hope in this series, that's the last that we see of Anakin. Although I love him, it just seems like anything more would be like a gratuitous thing. Like, look, you know, to get that meme out. There he is again, and everyone goes crazy and Twitter goes wild. I just think, right, it's like she kind of had closure in the previous episode, and now she's like his last message to her in this recording. It was very cool.
Important for the story. I agree. Moving forward, it might be a stretch, and I'm sure people would start critiquing, saying it's purely fan service at this point, but like, it's been very story driven and relevant thus far.
You know when I think Anakin should ever show up again in, say, as a series or something to do with Ahsoka, is if she died and then he comes to get her. You know, that whole afterlife thing. And then she's laying there and she gets up and he's like, you know, you're finally here, or, you know, whatever. Some writer who knows how to write gives him a line to say, and then he grabs her hand and walks with her, and that'd be a devastating scene, right? If you know, she walks off into the darkness, I guess, because the world between worlds seems weird.
He appears to Luke in another vision, and they have some dialogue together. I mean, that would be pretty cool
if they both came together. Because I mean, Luke dies. I don't know what the time frame is, but it would be, you know, if she died later and they both came together, right? So, because she knows them both, so it'd be kind of cool.
That was a cool scene, though. That was a cool scene. Love to see the training. Love to see Hayden back. Love the name drop. Amazing.
So we get over to the whales finally make it to the other side where Thrawn and them are. I didn't get the pictures for this, but Thrawn has laid out hundreds, thousands of these mines in space, and it was a really cool scene. The whales getting pummeled because now the ship is out of the mouth, and they were taking cover.
I mean, it was also amazing to see, like, a space minefield. That was cool. Those mines were amazing. I mean, Thrawn just always one step ahead, anticipating, like the ultimate strategist and tactician. That was cool to see them, like, just appear. He knew what was going to happen right into the minefield. Welcome to Peridia. Like, awesome.
Exactly. And then that whole fight and the chase with the fighters chasing her, and oh geez, I wrote down, didn't Hu Yang say something like, we can't stay out here, we're going to be pulverized, something like that? It was the same thing that it was Leia said to Han.
When was it Empire
in the asteroid
Strikes
field.
Back, when they're going through the asteroid field?
So he's like, yeah, you're right. So then he finds that big asteroid with a little monster in it, said the same line as
that was
Hu
super
Yang
cool.
says.
Totally, that's what I thought of too, like the callbacks immediately to the, Falcon being chased, and they have to lose him in the asteroid field. In this case, the
It's
Purgle remains
it's like the graveyard. They go there and
the
die.
graveyard.
So
Yeah,
it's kind of like what elephants do, right? Didn't they? They
yeah,
go to the same place and they all die, and
yeah. That's crazy.
it's very, very cool. Um, and it's interesting. Like I was thinking that Thrawn wanted Ahsoka captured and not killed. I mean, maybe he was just going to pulverize her ship, but it seemed a little more dangerous than that. Because I'm getting mixed messages from Thrawn. Like, does he want her dead, or does he want her as a trophy? Because I mean, he was really wants Ezra for some reason. Maybe revenge.
He wanted the win. Like, to me,
yeah.
In my mind, it was like, okay, you either kill Ahsoka Tano or you trap everyone in this galaxy. I go back, you're all stuck here. I had a hard enough time. It took me a decade to find a way out of this galaxy.
Yeah.
If he can trap all of them there, he traps, two of his biggest threats. I don't know if Sabine's a huge threat to him. Ezra, huge threat. Ahsoka, huge threat. And then he goes right back, marches right to the front door of the New Republic, and takes over.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. I did have the picture. I thought that was a cool scene.
Oh, look at that. That was a really cool scene. Yeah.
Coming in. So, yeah. And Thrawn seems to be, I like Thrawn a lot more in this episode. I think we got to kind of see some of his process. Like later on when he sends the stormtroopers or the night troopers to go get Sabine and Ezra and stuff, he could actually see what they're doing, and he's calling out maneuvers and stuff from where he is.
That was
very
cool. We get to see him in action, though. Like, it's
Yes.
one thing to see him march in, which was a cool reveal and everything, but like to actually see him in action. And like, for those people who didn't watch Rebels, to see how his mind works as a general, a grand admiral in battle, and map all the pieces and anticipate moves, like a master chess player, right? He's trying to think 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. Amazing.
Yeah, he was very cool. And you know what? If you have not watched Star Wars Rebels, it's not just a kid's show. I think the first season you could argue that it's a kid's show, but then the story expands and it is an awesome series. So
that's how they get you with all the cartoons, eh? They make the first season a kids show, and then it's like season 2, war crimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, I've always said this, right? The animation group for Lucasfilm has really held the franchise together in between their big, their movies or their big, this and that. I mean, how many years was it between Return of the Jedi, right, and episode 1, the prequel? So, and then, after that, Lucas kept it going with the Clone Wars and everything else. So, you need to go watch it. All right, so let's get back. So then we go back to the crab Jawas and Ezra and Sabine.
Crab Jawa Ewoks.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought you'd love these guys because they're like, hey, these guys had slingshots too.
But the joke was they were pacifists and their weapons don't really do anything, which is funny. So they're more Jawas than Ewoks, because Ewoks are, what do they call them? The murder bears. I mean, look at this one. He's got a gun or a blaster. Be careful. And it's loaded. So, and they're catching up here, and it's weird because there doesn't seem to be too much urgency from Sabine to catch him up on stuff. Like, she caught him up on the Empire and what happened, but it's not like, oh, there's these 2 Dark Jedis after us, and Thrawn is planning on this, and I think Ahsoka's dead, and blah blah blah. There's none of that. It's like
you can clearly tell that Sabine has kept so much information from him just to relish that reunion, right? Like, he doesn't know. Ezra does not know the situation they're in. Like, Ezra would be I think, much more urgent if he knew the full scope of what is going on.
Oh, definitely. And I think, in my opinion, that reunion in the previous episode was flubbed on my part. Like she disobeyed, almost, potentially ruins the galaxy because she has to find Ezra. So she finally gets there, and it's kind of monotone, a little like, oh, hey, good to see you and stuff. And I thought about this later, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if she showed a lot of emotion, right? Because then she's like, oh my God, like there he is. And even him, like Ezra was always a smart ass, right? I get that.
Oh yeah.
So he would say something cheesy, but she'd be like, I never thought this was going to happen. I disobeyed Ahsoka. I've done all these things that are potentially really bad for the galaxy. But I finally seen you. And I thought it was a perfect time for her to go, I brought you a lightsaber. And then that would have been the end of it. Like, it would have showed him going, and then God forbid if the next episode it's him taking it, throwing it over his shoulder, then I'd be done. Like Ryan Johnson.
But that's pretty much what he did, right? Like,
No.
It's not my saber. I gave it to you.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. But no, I just thought that would have been the perfect reunion. But that's just my uneducated
Fan
non-writer.
fiction.
But I mean, it's like, because it just seems so kind of like, oh, let's not talk. It didn't seem as exciting, and it seemed anticlimactic after all her doing stuff and going with Balin and everything else, right? I thought it didn't seem as exciting. I mean, I thought it was great. That actor that plays Ezra, hot damn, he looks like Ezra. Like, did Filoni find this guy, draw him like years ago? And makes you wonder.
Everything, like all of Ezra's mannerisms, his wise ass like attitude, like his that actor is absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, when they were talking there, like the whole thing, wild. And his eyes, man.
Oh yeah, they captured Ezra's eyes too. I saw there was a side-by-side picture because in Rebels we get to see pictures of Ezra's dad, and Ezra now, like in Ahsoka, looks exactly like Ezra's dad that we saw from Rebels too. Perfect casting, absolute perfect casting.
He is so good. And I didn't realize this, the like the lameled kind of armor, I thought kind of like there was
what is that
in a shirt. Those are the dog tags for the night troopers.
Oh, really?
That's what someone was saying. You know what, to be fair, I didn't go and confirm this, but that's what they're saying. So obviously he has a real history with these night troopers and Thrawn on this planet, where he's collected like trophies. I'm assuming all the night troopers he's killed, and he's made this kind of like shirt out of it, or whatever he's wearing underneath, right? Yeah, I think that was a nice touch.
That would be crazy. I mean, Thrawn did say their numbers are dwindling and have dwindled. Well, it's been like what, a decade or 9 years. That's crazy. That's crazy, especially since he's been with the sort of pacifist, crab-like aliens.
It's true. And
someone had to protect
I'm thinking
him,
to myself, what has he been doing for 9 or 10 years, right? Like, he hasn't not been practicing in the Force, right? He doesn't have a lightsaber. There's maybe there's not kyber crystals in that universe for sure, but I was expecting him to be a lot more, or they didn't show a lot, but a lot more stronger in the Force, because what else was he going to do? I mean, he's avoiding Thrawn, and I thought for sure he was going to have magic, a combination of Force and magic. That was going to be the twist. He was going to have Force and magic, because when he didn't accept the lightsaber, he's like, oh, my ally is the Force. Before that, when they were talking, this is how they connected this series to the sequels.
Oh yeah, of course.
About Palpatine.
Alleged, what is it?
Palpatine's dead too.
Saying.
That's what they're saying. It's like, oh So you didn't believe Luke when he said, "Yeah, my dad chucked him down and killed him." Everyone's like, "Ma, I mean, what does Luke Skywalker know?" So I thought it was like, okay, well, he, they're connecting it to the sequel, so whatever.
Against
It's so
Steve's
stupid.
wishes,
It was
they're
just dumb.
connecting it to the sequels. I thought that was pretty a clever way. Like, it's not the most overt way, but it sort of shows,
Yeah.
like, it's kind of like he said, she said, like, oh, there's only 3 people in the room when the Emperor died, and 2 of them are dead. The Emperor and Darth Vader. Are
But
we
it's Luke
really going to trust this
Skywalker.
guy?
But the
We have
Republic,
one
the New
guy who
Republic
made
is
it out of the
stupid.
Death Star.
Yeah. I mean, the New Republic is dumb. Like, man, the bureaucracy is phenomenal. But
I definitely think they're setting this up for Thrawn to be a serious conflict or a serious threat, right? We see in multiple series now, we see not instability,
right.
but kind of idiocy of the New Republic
Yeah,
in
you
setting up
understand how
this
it fell back.
bureaucracy. They're going to be completely overrun when Thrawn arrives.
I read someone has suggested this online, and it's like, Heir to the Empire or a story similar, or even this would have made a better sequel series than what we got. Like, you know what I mean? It bringing Thrawn in, and that's the new old villain and threat to the galaxy. Even bringing in zombie troopers and all this kind of stuff would have been
rumors are that those, what are they, dark troopers or night troopers? Who are Thrawn's?
Night troopers, yeah.
Night troopers. There's some rumors that those are zombie stormtroopers that are brought back by the Night Sisters. So who knows?
Yeah. So that would have been a cool thing. But and the story with Balin and Shin is getting interesting.
Yeah. Also,
Balin is on
how
some
are these
weird...
two like some of the most compelling characters ever?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, definitely.
Like, they're amazing.
It's weird story. Like, I'm still trying to figure out Balin. Like, he is that typical bad guy, not bad guy.
I love that he's on his own mission. Like, he's not like, oh, let's bring back the Empire, or, oh, let's overthrow the Jedi. He's always like, it's a shame if I have to kill Ahsoka Tano. There's so few Jedi left, or,
right.
I have a lot of respect for Thrawn, but we see him moving his own pieces in a way that even Thrawn doesn't know what's going on.
It's really interesting. There's a couple of things. I think, some people are saying that maybe he wants to start his own Jedi kind of a temple and do it his way. But someone that had from last week, his the computer on his wrist, it had some Auberish written in it, and of course, nerds will figure it out. And it said it had the names Luke, Han, Leia, Chewbacca, and Ben.
I saw that. A hit list.
Or you know what I mean? Is he after because he was mad at Anakin, so he's after Luke, or is he trying to make a good connection? It just seems really weird that he has that.
He did say that he was trying to end this never-ending cycle of light, dark, fight, light, dark, fight, light, dark, right? Like, he's trying to end that cycle, and they're currently kind of in the middle of it right now with Luke and friends, of course, defeating the dark side. So maybe he's trying to prevent, in his mind, that cycle from repeating.
Right. It's that it's that person who thinks they're doing the right thing, but they're really the villain.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
He's such a compelling character.
He's the most compelling character in the series, and Shin to a degree, right? Like, because you could see her displeasure in his direction now, right? Because they were like mercenary dark Jedi, and all of a sudden he's all getting this philosophical hippie stuff going on, and she's like, like, you can see it when she talks and he says things to her and she's getting mad.
Yeah.
Like he
She's
said
clearly,
something about,
she's got a thirst for power, clearly. Like she's
Yes.
got that dark side thirst for power. And he is very calculated and ambivalent because he's seen the pitfalls of that play out throughout the Clone Wars.
Did
right?
he ever? Yeah.
I mean, that line he delivered right before they went their separate ways too was absolutely phenomenal. Like, I just want to know what he's up to. He's searching for something.
I have a feeling, I had thought that Shin would hook up with Ahsoka, see the error in Balin's way, or he would be killed and she would hook up. That didn't happen. And I'm almost thinking that Shin is gonna, be done with Balin and go back with Thrawn and the gang, and Balin's gonna end up going with Ahsoka and her ship, right? Because at the end, when she's trying to get, like, we're jumping ahead, but she was trying to get Ahsoka was trying to get Shin to join her, and she's not. Yeah. I thought she was going to. I'm like, oh, is this what they're going to do? And then she was like, nope, I'm out of here, and she takes off. And
oh, that's interesting.
Balin's the one that's going to be convinced, which is cool because they get into fight number 2. God, I love Balin. Look at him. Look,
he's so everything about that character, everything, the acting. Amazing. Lightsaber style, amazing. Dialogue, like even the mystery and intrigue of his backstory. Like,
I want to cosplay him so bad. It'd be so great.
Cool. You would never trim your beard though.
You know what? I just tie it up. I can tie it up and get some color in there and be.
I'll be Shin.
Deal, but you can't shave your beard. Yeah, no, I really loved, and man, Balin must have been quite the powerful Jedi because maybe it was a draw on this one, but he's not a pushover. Like, with all the hype that Ahsoka has, he's just like, okay, let's do this, and it's just
he's
so
not
easy
like
for
he
him.
Straight up said, "You are not going to defeat me." Like, the confidence in himself is, and it's also compelling that he doesn't look for the fight either. Like, Ahsoka's there, he's not going to run away. You're not going to defeat me. And even so, he's ambivalent about actually having to kill a Jedi, right? Like, he doesn't want to. And he's even ambivalent about the Jedi Order. Like, he said before, he loves the idea of the Jedi. He just doesn't like what they became. So, like, if there was anybody that tiptoed the line, and like, he's not out for power either. So, like, just so compelling in where his motivations lie. He's clearly searching for some greater power, or some, like, not necessarily power, greater.
Well, yeah, because he had said it's not power, right? It's something bigger than power. That's not what he's interested in. Now you can compare Balin to other Jedi who were disillusioned or had problems with the Jedi Temple, right? Qui-Gon, Ahsoka, Anakin.
I mean, there's total parallels between Balin and Ahsoka.
Yeah,
right? Like, definitely clear parallels. They both, left the Order. Neither of them purely dark side, right? But clearly emotions are, at play.
Yeah.
Agreed with the ideals of the Jedi, but didn't agree with how it turned out. And also Qui-Gon too, right? Like, another perfect comparison, Steve. That's great. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because that's what was getting him in trouble, right? Like Obi-Wan, like you could have been on the council if you had just done as you were told, right? And then he says to Obi-Wan, "You have a lot to learn." And it's like, right, you don't go again. And Qui-Gon was more, connected to the Force, like tradition and all these different things. And the Jedi became political. And then, of course, later on, like, it'd be interesting if Qui-Gon would have became General Qui-Gon and wore the armor and did all this stuff that
Yeah.
they did during the Clone Wars, right? Would he be like, nah, I'm done. This isn't what the Jedi are.
I think you would have.
You
Because
think he
that
would have
would
went along?
go. I don't think he would have gotten involved in the war. I think that would have
Yeah.
strayed so far from what he believed. He
Exactly.
already conflicted with the council
Yeah.
on their views. I think that would have been the tipping point for him.
Oh, definitely, he would have left.
But I mean, we can only speculate, right? Of course, that just
'Cause that wasn't
runs
him.
so counter to what he believes the Jedi are supposed to be.
Yeah.
That I think that would be his tipping point, like his master, Count Dooku, right?
Yes. Again, Tales of the Jedi, man. I was like, Dooku fan. I get it. Wrong way to go about it, but I get it.
Totally.
And then like Balin, now he's at the point like something is calling to him, right? He's on a mission, and he maybe has the same problems that Ahsoka did that we saw in the episodes where young Ahsoka, she clearly had PTSD with the clones being killed and stuff like this. Maybe Balin had PTSD, and in the end, Anakin kills a bunch of kids. The Jedi Temple's destroyed because of their arrogance. Blah blah blah. Here we are, and who knows what happened to him struggling in the universe.
Totally, and that would make sense for him, right? Like, I'm so sick of this same cycle happening every century. It's old, always the same.
Yeah.
Why not just end it?
Yeah. It's he's like Ahsoka's great and all that stuff, but I mean, if you're looking at new and deep, it would be Balin and Shin. Balin even more deeper, and maybe I have kind of a bias because I love the actor, but like between the two, Shin and Balin. But
I agree 100%. But I mean, like, it's also different, right? Ahsoka has a well-developed background.
Yes, for sure.
Ezra, well-developed background. Sabine, Thrawn.
Everyone.
But to have two characters, Balin and Shin, come in out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like a highlight of the entire series that's not about them.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's again, I'll say what everyone says. Rest in peace. Like,
totally. Yeah, they're gonna if he does survive the series, if the character survives the series, they're gonna have a really hard time replacing the actor because he crushed it.
Yeah.
All of the actors have been crushing it, but he is stand above and beyond of like.
Right. It's such a new character, and I from what I understood, I've heard Shin and Balin have a really strong part in the story going forward. So as much as I'd say, let's not replace them and honor it, and I hope they didn't go back and reshoot stuff where he dies, because I think they should recast the character, because the character is awesome. The character is amazing. The actor is
that would almost be a disservice to, the late Ray Stevenson, because he brought this character to life. That would be an honor for them to keep it moving, something that he helped build moving forward.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it would be too easy to cop out and just. That being said, we don't know what happens next episode. The character could be.
I know.
But
I hope they don't. I hope they just said, no, let's not refilm everything. It's too expensive, and let's just move on. And Filoni's like, I need that character, so we'll recast. There's probably a couple monsters out there. I think some people on Twitter had posted different actors that could have take over the role that are the same height and build.
Yeah, someone really rooting for Gerard Butler. I saw that one on Twitter.
Oh, I never seen that one. Ooh, is he a big guy? Because I think it matters, right? Because you see him and he's towering over everyone.
He looks like a tree trunk. Like he's just
so big,
solid, right? Like.
Yeah. But let's get back to Ezra.
Let's not fanboy over
Ezra.
over Balin anymore.
I could fanboy Balin. He's like, I really hope what's gonna happen. There's gonna be comics, there's gonna be books that come out of Balin's story, and then eventually Shin, right?
Should be.
Yeah,
Should be like top-notch character.
yeah. And if not,
I
they
would buy
need to.
that.
Yeah, and if they're not thinking about it, I know Filoni's listening now.
You hear
Please
to
get
hear
on
first,
that.
Filoni.
Okay, so
Contact Wookie Steve at StarWarsReporter.com. He wants his
Wait.
royalties.
I'm the same size as Ray Stevens. I can't act.
You heard it here first,
and
Filoni. Cast Wookie Steve.
Ask me. Now I can't act or do anything
Balin,
cool,
the
but
Balin Skull Disney Plus series origin story.
that would be great. Okay, so here's where we get to the big battle with the crab people, and Shin catches up with them, Sabine and Ezra. And there's the big fight. And the one scene, I'll say this right now, where they're kind of surrounded by night troopers and whatnot, and Sabine tries to give Ezra back his lightsaber, and he's like, "No, it's good. You keep it. I gave it to you. My ally is the Force," and he's going to use the Force to fight everyone. And again, I'll go back to my thoughts on when they got reunited, what should have happened, and I think it was kind of a big waste, because he's like, no, it's good. She doesn't end up using it for the first little while of the fight anyways, and he's just running around. The thing was, he was using like a Force kind of martial arts. That's what he was going to do, except the choreography was so terrible that he looked goofy, in my opinion, doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't, he's kind of hand fighting some people, and maybe had something to do with the editing. It just didn't look solid to me. And I thought, if you're going to claim
Force pushing everyone,
well, I don't need a lightsaber because I'm going to be kicking butt with the Force and my hands, then you really need to produce, right? You need to make people go, oh yeah, screw that lightsaber. And for me, it was like, bro, just go get the lightsaber. She's got guns and every other Mando thing on her that you could think of. Well, we've seen a couple of them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I
she's
thought,
really equipped.
At first, I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice. I didn't mind it. Just, the Force is my ally. Seeing as my thought is, okay, he's for sure been training in the Force for the last 9 years. Like, he's
Right.
for sure refined. Again, yeah, I thought he would perform a little better. I'm glad they didn't make him like immediately overpowered, like, because they could have just
Right.
godlike in the Force and just taken down everyone. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad he kind of struggled with it. Looked like he was okay in the Force, but like a little rusty in combat because he's been hiding for so long. I do
he should have been
think
stronger in the Force.
when he stopped the saber with the
Oh,
Force,
yeah.
I was like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
we
like
did get a picture
Vader
of that.
toying with Reva in the Obi-Wan series when he was
That's
just
right.
like stopping all of her blocks with the Force. I was like,
Right.
that is cool.
If you go rewatch the final season of Rebels, well, I guess this is the final season of Rebels, but the fourth season of Rebels, and you see how Ezra progressed. I mean, this is Filoni's creation. He's not adopting a creation and then making changes. He's the one that made Ezra in the series, right, really develop. He was kind of like a potentially great Jedi, right? All the things he was doing. He was able to go to, the world between worlds. He saved Ahsoka, blah, blah, blah. And then to have him kind of be meh, like I said, what else would he be doing if not being connected to the Force, right? Because he was getting there, right? Like, Rebels was his story. And it was a really cool seeing him grow for those years. And then, of course, at the end, how he saved everyone. How did he save everyone? Like, with his ability, right? Like, being heroic and doing the right thing, but then his Force powers, his Force skills, so I don't think he should have been like Darth Vader levels or, more powerful than Ahsoka or Balin or any of these people, but he should have been able to, I mean, where'd he get all those dog takes from? Right? He should have been kicking more ass than than what they showed here. And I felt he was more comic relief than anything. And I know Ezra was a Joker, but he seemed like this scene here when they're surrounded by the night troopers, and he's like, wait, because Shin's like, destroy them, because you can't say kill, right? Because of kids. That's what they do, that destroy them, because if they hear kill, then it looks bad. They have to PG-13 it or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was told one time. So when you see in animation and they say, instead of kill or shoot, they say destroy, for some reason that's safer for the censors. It's weird. It's weird. But this where it was funny, right? Because it's as Ezra, he's like, wait, can we talk about this? Or can we not talk, or whatever it was? And of course they're not going to talk.
Can we talk? Or wait, prisoners. I thought that was classic Ezra. Like that
it is Ezra.
Was like Rebels live action, which is what this is, like you said.
Yes,
but that was like
is.
100%. Again, that actor paired with Filoni perfectly embodies Ezra Bridger. That was awesome. Ezra Bridger.
He is.
But yeah, I mean, considering the mood of the series,
yeah,
I can see how it seems a little bit out of place, right? Like it hasn't exactly. The only comic relief we've really had is from droids, Chopper and Hu Yang, right? There's been no real comic relief, so now we have smart ass Ezra Bridger back.
Yeah, and I didn't mind that. For people that have never watched Rebels, they wouldn't get it. And I like the fact that he's kind of cocky and he's this and that. I just think that he should have taken the lightsaber. I think if he wasn't going to, that they should have come through with him being kick-ass with the Force. If he was just going to use the Force to fight people, they should have produced that. I don't think that they did. I think it was of the series probably the weakest fight scene was this interaction here. But that's that's just some of my thoughts on it. I liked, like I said, the actor is besides Rosario is the best cast. I think, like, where you look at someone, you go, yeah, that's the actor. Yeah, that's the actor.
Yeah,
like
totally
phenomenal. Zeb doesn't count because
yeah, Zeb doesn't count. No, I do agree in that it was first. I didn't mind that he didn't take the lightsaber, because I think that again calls back to something that Kanan taught him in Rebels, where Kanan straight up said having a laser sword doesn't make you a Jedi. Right. So he's training him in that way. So it's like, oh, that makes sense. Again, didn't really expect for him to get not his ass kicked, but like didn't expect for him to struggle as much as he did, like you're saying, with the Force. And then it was like, 30 seconds later, he ends up getting a blaster anyways, which I was like, finally, like now you can actually do something, right? Like,
yeah.
Whereas Sabine was, taking out these troopers with her various weapons, her various accoutrements. And then
she's like a man, right?
Yeah. And there's Ezra, realizing that, okay, maybe his hand-to-hand won't cut it. Maybe he's got to pick up a blaster.
Yeah. Now, I noticed in the one part when Ahsoka was training here, when she's putting her lightsabers away, she goes into this cabinet or whatever you want to call it, and there's different weapons and the training balls and stuff.
Yeah,
I swear I saw a bunch of lightsaber handles.
I thought that in one of the first couple episodes, it looked like she had like a General Grievous type collection of lightsabers, and I was, in my mind, I was hoping like, oh, she's gonna grab one and she's gonna give it to Ezra, and then we're gonna be back.
Maybe that'll be where he gets his lightsaber, because he needs to get it. I was watching go on Twitter, because Twitter is like fun and terrible all at the same time, and to get feedback. And a lot of people, the majority of people were saying, I don't think people who know Ezra know that he's a smartass, right? That's what makes him awesome. But everyone's like, why didn't he use his lightsaber? Why didn't he? You know what I mean? Like, that was the whole thing. That was from like people that know the show. Even some of the people are like, never watched it, but I don't know why I didn't use a lightsaber. You're just running around like an idiot.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And I hope that Ahsoka's gonna be like, well, here you go. Like, you know,
For a
I'm
second
sure
there, I thought like we were gonna get an interaction where it's like Sabine has struggled so much with Shin. Okay, you know, Ezra's been training with the Force. He's gonna step in, no saber, and do to Shin what Ahsoka did in Tales of the Jedi with that Inquisitor when she just faced him, no saber, demolished him. I thought we were gonna get that where Ezra was just gonna quite easily disarm her, and then we have Ezra and Sabine with both with sabers. Maybe that was just wishful thinking. Clearly, that was just wishful thinking on my part.
Right. Well, so yeah, and then of course Ahsoka shows up and they kind of defeat all the night troopers, and it's weird because Thrawn sees, you know, some of the defeat happening, so he just calls them back. He's like, we're gonna leave them behind. And this is the scene where Ahsoka tries to convince Shin to join her and do the right thing, and she says no and pieces out. You know what I mean? She runs away. I thought that was kind of funny. She's like, runs away.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
I mean, at this point, this was a Thrawn masterclass.
Yes,
right. Like from the very beginning, another scene that we haven't talked about yet is when Thrawn learns that Ahsoka's master was Anakin Skywalker, and immediately you could see like the concern on his face, of which you never see any emotion on Thrawn's face ever, and to see that look of hesitation, I thought that was so telling. And even for him to be one step ahead and like send out troops, and then what's her face in his ear, Morgan Elsbeth, we need to send more, we need to do more, and he's like, no. And then in front of him you could see this chess match playing out, and she's questioning him, and he's like, that's what you see, this is what I see. And he's like, we're loading up, our goal is to get off this planet, our goal is not to exterminate them. Yes, that would be absolutely great, but it's the same for us if they're stuck here and we're loaded up and gone. So this bought us time. And he says those are acceptable losses. Pull them back. That's not our primary objective. Like, this was a Thrawn masterclass.
Now, the small hole I see in what happened in there was when the night troopers are coming in on those two ships to where they're all, you know, they're all fighting here. What they could have done was pummel the ground, the entire area with all those little ships and everything, and lay waste to the entire area instead of landing, getting out, and then getting their asses kicked. That would have made more sense to me if he wasn't trying to capture her. You know, I thought, oh, maybe he's trying to capture, Ezra. He was really wanting Ezra for some reason. But if they wanted them dead, and he's like, well, we've had enough losses, let's just pull out. Even then, they could have just went up, turned down, and started blasting the ground. I just thought that was funny. So I could be wrong. Maybe he's got a plan.
Don't question the Grand Admiral, Steve. Don't question the Grand Admiral. He's got a plan. He's 3 steps ahead of us. And
then, of course, you got the reunion afterwards. But it was kind of cool. And
that was what I was wanting to see from Sabine and Ezra.
Yeah. I thought it was funny because her reaction was so good, because last she saw him, he was, in her eyes, would be a kid. And here he is with the beard, a little older, a little rough around the edges. And I think she even does that. She laughs.
Yeah.
And she's even grabbing his face or whatever, because I mean, he's got a beard now. Like, I wish I had
Well, wasn't it the World Between Worlds when they last saw? Like, he saved her. And that was the last time.
But he was still young and he had the smooth face and everything, right?
Yeah.
So now he's older. I just think that was cool. I looked at that, and that's what you would do if you haven't seen someone in a long time like that. they're lost and or dead, presumably.
Yeah.
And you finally see them, right? It's like, but this is Ahsoka the White, right? She's
Ahsoka the
more
White.
at peace with herself, right? So she's more, if she was still Ahsoka the Gray, she might be like, cool, let's get going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
She's troubled. She was still troubled then. I just thought it was very, very cool.
Kind of similar to like the Anakin and Ahsoka reunion, right? Where what does he say? Like, you got old or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of the way Anakin reacted to Ahsoka was kind of the way Ahsoka reacted to Ezra, which is kind of cool to see, like that Master Padawan and now Master Padawan. Where you're right, I'm pretty sure she like has her hand on his beard or something. And he, like, you could tell he gives her a huge squeeze too.
Yeah.
Like that was a good embrace.
And that's what he was saying. I guess I'm going home. Like, that was very, very cool. Like his last line, like, okay, it's a reality, right? That he probably gave up at a certain point, right? After a couple years. Oh, well.
I mean, he's been there 9-10 years, right?
Yeah.
That's the thought that he's never going back has clearly crossed his mind.
Yeah, most definitely. So it was really cool. I thought there was a lot of good feeling, to quote Filoni. There's a lot of good feeling in this episode. Especially with their being reunited, like Ahsoka and Ezra. She gets to find out that he's not dead. Sabine gets to find out Ahsoka's not dead. They all live through the Night Troopers and Thrawn and Balin. I thought for sure that round 2, I'm like, oh, please don't kill Balin. I want him to live.
I was thinking that too, right? And they had a really good fight too. Like,
yes,
they had a really good, like, Balin had really good strikes. Ahsoka had really good counters.
Yes.
And then when she threw him into the blaster, I was like, no. But no, she was just baiting him to steal his I forget what those things are called, those howlers or wolf things. That was glad he survived. And we still don't, like, we have an episode to figure out what he's up to, right? There's still a lot that needs to happen in this last episode. A lot needs to happen in this last episode. I will say we said that about the Mandalorian finale too, and they wrap things up phenomenally in like I forget what it was, like 34 minutes or something.
Yeah, it was short.
And we were all like shocked.
Yeah.
And satisfied at the ending. So
yeah, I especially after this is somewhat felt like a filler in a lot of ways. It did. So episode 8 has to kill, I think. Has to kill, because they're gonna have to do so much, right? It'd be funny if Thrawn comes back, gets back into the galaxy, and says something like, I'm back. he wouldn't be that way, like, I'm back. He wouldn't do any of that. But it'd be kind of funny. But my wish, I hope Balin, we find out what the heck's going on with him, and that he comes back with Ahsoka. And then, Shin stays with Thrawn and actually joins the witches. That'd be interesting.
Interesting.
Even though they kind of hate her because she's a Jedi.
Balin's looking for something. So
he is.
You know what? Maybe Thrawn and them and Shin will end up leaving. And then Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine will still be there, left. Balin doesn't want to go anywhere. Maybe Balin awakens something that will help get them back. And that's how they have to team up.
Because either way,
team up, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a convenience, right? They still might not.
A marriage of convenience for them.
Right. And I mean,
who knows?
Balin, didn't really do. I mean, Ahsoka could overlook some of the stuff, because I mean, he really didn't. I mean, he sort of almost killed her. Okay, but He didn't
Okay,
hurt.
come on.
He could have wrecked Sabine in a second. He didn't. When she
Yeah.
gave up and he gave her his word not hurting her, what happened? He went through. He kept his promise.
Yeah. He's
It'd
pretty
be different.
consistent in being a man of his word.
Yes, doing a lot of the wrong things, but he's still a man of his
Yeah.
word. But maybe whatever's been calling out to him, along with his PTSD and resentment for the Jedi and how everything went down, like, yeah, we're gonna find out what is calling him. Maybe he'll become. Maybe he's that gray Jedi everyone talks about. That's not really canon or anything, but
Yeah. I don't
so
know.
we'll see.
I'm super curious.
I hope he. I don't always wish this because I hate that like there's no more villains anymore. Everyone's just like there's gray areas and no one's really bad anymore. It's like there's no more Darth Vaders anymore. It's like
Thrawn, come on.
but I want him to come back for sure. Shin is awesome as bad girl, like as like a bad Jedi. Oh my god, she doesn't blink in every scene.
I thought on
it's awesome.
on when they left, I was secretly hoping that he was going to snip her Padawan braid right before she left, because she still got that braid. But no, they've both been absolutely phenomenal.
Love them, and like Ezra. Oh, Ezra. So that actor, it's wild.
He's crushing it.
I know. He's probably watched this series twice, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this." It's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to give
yeah.
Rosario more praise too. Like her transformation of clearly a troubled warrior to being at peace, and now we see the Ahsoka Tano that we know and love. Like to see that development and how she handled that, because I mean, you've read the reviews and the critiques. She was heavily critiqued for her lack of emotion in the first couple episodes.
Right.
Heavily critiqued. And now we see, well, I mean, just wait. Filoni has a plan. Just give Filoni time to cook. He's got a plan. And Ahsoka and Rosario perfectly embody that.
Right. I wasn't criticizing her acting or anything like that. I was among the people that thought that the first two episodes, episode 1 and 2, were slow and a lot of like 4 and 5 seconds in between each. When people are talking to each other, it was like you say something, I wait 5 seconds, then I say something back to you, then you wait 5 seconds. There was so much of that. Like I said, I don't know if you saw the podcast. I said when Sabine was trying to figure out the little the ball, the device, how to get it to work in Ezra's old place, and at one point I thought my Disney Plus stopped working, because sometimes when it's like the night, I find that the little thing comes up that says it's loading because so many people are using it. My internet's maybe not great. And I thought, oh, it froze. It was like, no, because she was just standing against a wall, not moving or saying anything, and there was no music. And I was like, oh, she is, because she blinked or something, and then she started moving. I was like, oh, it didn't freeze. She just didn't say or do anything for 20 seconds. Like, just certain. Anyways, I don't want to get into that because I mean it's fine. But yeah, I can understand, and I think the problem is that this show is really, 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 really made for fans, and I'm fine with that, because so many other series they've been too focused on bringing in new fans or people that aren't familiar with it, and they've tried to do things differently and hand holding too much. And this is like if you haven't watched Rebels or the Clone Wars, you might question certain things, but that's what Google's for.
Wikipedia,
and I think I can understand where people were really frustrated or disinterested because a lot of viewing stopped, like, or dropped after the second and third episodes, because people like normies or casuals were like, what's going on here? Like, I don't get it. And people are lazy, right? Like you and me will like jump on Wikipedia or whatever, and we'll like nerd out for like hours after a show trying to figure stuff out if we don't get it. Where the people, I've said this before, the people they're trying to target more because they just assume we're going to be there are going to be confused or disinterested. Like that was the problem with Andor, where we were looking at all these things and we were like, oh, this is the politics here, and this is, you know, the things that we like, because we've been through the exciting 4, 5, and 6 and 1, 2, 3 and all this kind of stuff, right?
Filoni's never been about the normies, though. Filoni's are always a deep cuts kind of guy.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Yeah, for sure. So if there's any kind of criticism of the show from people, it's because there's people like, it would be coming from normies and like casuals who are not getting it. So I could see that when I'm watching it, I'm into it, and then later when I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I can understand why that guy was saying that. Or like one of my coworkers is like, what the hell is going on? It's like, okay, so this is what's, you know, blah blah blah. I go through it with them like a dork. One of the guys in marketing.
Rebels season 1 episode 1. Let's go.
But this is what I was doing for this one guy from the office, right? He was like, and I was explaining certain things, like, okay, like I knew if I talked to you and stuff, and it's like, but you know, I don't care that normies are having a problem because
screw the normies.
I don't want any more hand holding. Just give us what we want.
No, I agree. I will say, okay, so I know you do you watch Star Wars Theory?
Yes.
So he's the biggest YouTuber, the biggest YouTube Star Wars influencer, whatever you want to call him.
Yes.
He's got the biggest Star Wars following on YouTube.
It's bigger than the official sites, yes. It's just funny. Yeah.
Did you see his recap? It was I am borderline ready to boycott Star Wars Theory. I mean, his Andor comments, where we talked about them already, when he's like, it's not Star Wars because he's got bricks. You know, we've ripped him to shreds about that already. But when he like flat out called this episode boring, I was like, no, like, are you forgetting everything that happened? Like, we start off with a C-3PO cameo. Then we go right into an Anakin cameo. Then we go into space whales in a minefield. And then we get an Ahsoka Balin rematch. We get some Night Sister Force magic, whatever you want to call it. Like, man, I got some issues with that guy now.
I remember someone saying cameos do not make a good episode. Like I like all the cameos. I felt, to be quite honest, I felt that a lot of this episode was kind of boring at first. It was like, when I saw Anakin, I was like, first of all, Hayden Christensen, he's aged really well, so I dislike him for that. But
well, I mean,
I thought it was cool.
On. He's got the $1 billion Disney back de-aging him every episode. So can't. You look great, Steve. You look great.
He still looks good. I mean, even with the de-aging and CGI, you couldn't fix this. So it was kind of cool seeing Anakin there, and then in context, when you see, and like I said earlier, you hope that it's the last that we see of him, unless he's like coming with Luke and Obi-Wan to come collect her when she dies. We'll never see that, right? But I just felt, you know, seeing C-3PO was cool, but it was like slow in a lot of areas. It just wasn't like, I don't need pew pew and lightsabers going crazy every episode, every minute of everything, because I want to hear a story. I want people to like talk to each other like Sabine and Ezra did, and even Ahsoka and and Hu Yang, they always have these really cool conversations, right? Because then you're like, oh yeah, crap, he's a droid.
Mhm.
And he's having this really cool conversation. He's like 1,000 years old, mind you, but I just find it really interesting. Like one of my favorite parts was when she was saying to Hu Yang, oh, about you used to tell that story to us when we were younglings. And it's like, that's like, he's way older than her. He helped raise her. It's so funny.
yeah.
She was a child, and she was like, oh, you used to tell that story to us when we were kids. That's funny to me. And I like that aspect of it. I was ho-hum on this episode. I think I said something like that to you before we went live. But it was ho-hum, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say it was boring though.
Yeah, it was.
See,
I don't know what the kids say.
were
What they say it was
entertained.
mid. Is that the term?
Entertained. Come on.
I was entertained during seeing Balin. I was entertained when I saw kind of like Anakin. I like C3PO. I like seeing Teva. Teva, is that how you say it? I like Thrawn's controls, like how he's overlooking, like kind of like a video game almost, and he's telling his night troopers what to do. But I felt the choreography was kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not bashing on the series. I just was like, okay, bring on 8. Let's see. Like going.
Okay, let's get your review then.
6.
Let's get your review. The official Wookiee Steve review. Let's hear it. Episode 7. Is this 7? Episode 7.
This is 7. Yeah. Like, you mean like a score out of 10?
Oh yeah.
Score out of 10?
Hold on. What are those things? What are those little aliens called?
Yeah, what are they called? I always call them the crab people or the crab Jawas.
I don't know. I'm trying to Wikipedia it right now.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Wikipedia. I have no idea.
Failed. They're canceled.
Yeah, canceled.
It
How
has to
many?
be on.
Okay, how many Purgle out of 10?
The whales?
Yeah.
Oh, out of 10? This episode, I give it a 5. I give it a 5, bro. I'm sorry.
Most of the series?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I would say, episode 1 and 2, I think I was thinking 6. Like episode 6 was like a 9 or a 10 for me. That's the Anakin one, right? 6. So, I mean, so far, if I average out the series, not including episode 8, I'm probably giving it a 7 out of 10. I just, you know what I mean?
As a series, 10 out of 10 for me.
Oh, really? Okay.
The episode itself, I would say 8 Purgle out of 10.
8. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it had really good story building. It's building up to something. I like that we don't really know where it could go. Like it's not overly predictable.
Yeah.
Loved Ezra Bridger. Loved the cameos of C3PO and Anakin.
Right.
Yeah, I thought loved to see Thrawn on the battlefield, even in a smaller capacity. 8 Purgle out of 10. Great episode.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that I like in each episode and the series, the whole bit. But I haven't really seen like Thrawn hasn't been like intimidating, like, and no one seems to be intimidated by him except for maybe the witches. They seem to have a weird relationship that when they get back to the they get back to the galaxy, they're going to turn on him
Are
or
they
not
going
need him.
like I was questioning that. Are they going back or are they staying there?
I think they're going back
I
because
don't know.
they're all going back. I thought because that was I thought that was part of Morgan's plan. Go back, get Thrawn, but I thought the witches were coming back with them.
I don't know. Like that's still I don't know where that could go. Like,
Or maybe she was just coming back for Thrawn, but
because is that then the Dathomirians' homeworld? Like, is that the Night Sisters' homeworld, Peridia?
isn't it? That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Where they're from.
because they're all but extinct in the main galaxy.
Right. So I mean that would
Except
be
for
a
Morgan
nice
Elsbeth.
that'd be an introduction of a new threat, right? Bringing that back, something that rivals the Force, right? It's magic.
Yeah.
Did they introduce that? And it was kind of like
Because wasn't
like
that
Palpatine.
what wasn't Timothy Zahn's original? Oh man, his original Heir to the Empire series. There was Thrawn was a threat, but there was another. My memory's not great.
There was a Dark Jedi in that one too.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
just
maybe
one.
that's what Balin's going after too. Who knows? But to have like a dual threat that would mirror the original Timothy Zahn's original Heir to the Empire.
Yeah, because I mean that's pretty much what's happening, right? It's like Heir to the Empire / Rebels, right? That's what's going on. So it'll be interesting. And are we going to see some form of Han, Luke, and Leia and Chewbacca? And well, not Ben, obviously, because he's not around. Does Balin not know that? In a season 2 or a movie because of what was on his, what they discovered.
Yeah, who knows? It would be cool to see a Luke, Ahsoka, Ezra team up.
Yeah, I think, maybe it was Jen. I said this too. It'd be cool to see Ezra come back and then take Jason as a student.
Oh, that would be
Kanan's
really
son,
cool. Yeah, that would
because
be
then Kanan taught him. He taught.
Poetic. Yeah,
it'd be very, very cool, right? Because it doesn't look like Ahsoka's going to do it, or like I don't think Ahsoka's going to stick around. Whereas in Ezra would rejoin Hera's crew, kind of a deal, which would be her son, which he would. That'd be kind of a nice little story, right? The full circle. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to teach you about the Force, but let me tell you about your dad.
Yeah, because I couldn't see like Ezra going off to Luke's Jedi Academy. Like I could not see that just based on his background as. Well, I mean, him and Luke had very, very, very similar backgrounds, right? Very, very similar backgrounds. Right. Even though, like I couldn't see Ezra just leaving to join the Jedi Order. I think he'd join the fight.
Yeah, I don't think he would. Yeah, I think he's. I don't want to say the cliche. He's too old. He's too past it. I think he'd rather just jump on the Ghost and go with them, and then do what he can to teach Jason. I hope that happens. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Very cool. Yeah. So, So maybe I'll turn it around next week on Tuesday, and I'll have a different thought. I just, like I said, there's a lot of things I liked in the episode, but overall, you know what I mean? It's
Wookiee Steve's hard to please.
Like I said, I was like, I have a picture of Anakin beside my bed now. My wife's not happy about it.
I thought that was normal.
It's normal. Yeah, yours is on the ceiling. Mine's just on the nightstand. There's a difference. Okay, I'm just joking. Mine's on the ceiling too. But
all of ours are on the ceiling. Come on.
No, if I ever meet him in person, I'll say that, and I'll do it with a straight face and see how he reacts.
I'm sure he'd be a sport about it.
He would be like, "Okay." Sure,
Cool.
sure.
Let's take
That's
a picture
cool.
and get out of here.
Yeah. I don't think he'd take a picture with me after that, but
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So it was good. It was good. I liked seeing. Yeah. I'm just really the biggest thing for me is I'm very, 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 very curious on what the heck is going on with Balin. I'm so
Yeah.
curious. That's the biggest curiosity in my head right now. But anyways, that was a good another good podcast.
Yeah.
Even though,
It was great. We really got into it, hey?
That was I think we got like really deep. I'm sure Todd was like, what the hell are these guys talking about?
Yeah. He logged off as soon as we started deep diving into everything. He's like, I'm done.
I'm out of here. I'll just tell them I had dinner to go to.
Yeah.
It's 10:987. I guess it's his dinner, but still. Yeah, that was awesome. So final episode next week, maybe for until next season in like 2 years, or movie. So I hope there's a season, because a movie is too quick.
I hope a movie.
Yeah. Movie's probably bigger.
Yeah.
Movie's probably bigger. Like there's more money thrown at it. It's yeah. I think we fleshed out enough. Let's just get on with the fun, right? Get a big movie.
I think we need to give Filoni a movie. We need to give him a movie.
Well, I thought that's what they were doing. The kind of the Mando movie that was gonna pull it all together. That's
Heir to the Empire, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Filoni.
Well, Heir to the Empire. I know. I think I'm gonna go find that book. I don't think I even have it. But I don't want any spoilers.
We'll have to have a book group. Yeah, no spoilers. We'll have to do a book group, book club, the Star Wars Reporter Book Club. You heard it here first.
I'd have to read. Is there pictures? Is there pictures in the book?
The Star Wars Reporter.
The professor comes out of you. The professor comes out of you. You're like, book reports and.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone who tuned in, and we will see you next time. Thank you.